Oh, hello. It's me, the mayor. I thought I might make a video guide for the game. The game's been out a month and a half now. Okay. I've been busy. Don't give me such a hard time. All right. So let's go through some of the kind of the key concepts of the game. When you are first starting the game, the main kind of one would be the actions menu, and let's say the inventory menu. So there are 6 gathering skills in the game that you can choose from. They're all very well balanced. I shouldn't laugh. The intent is that they're all very well balanced, and they are. So each of the gathering skills that are balanced, you can choose from. So like let's say battling, right? Battling gets raw gold, and gold is the currency in the game that all of the other things are traded with. Um, so gold is always worth 1 gold per gold. Whereas if you choose mining, you get iron ore, or wood cutting wood, fish, carcass, salvage. Those prices can vary based on supply and demand of the market, whereas gold is always 1 gold per gold. So that's something to think about. And then fishing and hunting and scavenging. These are 3 kind of advanced skills. They wouldn't be super great. I mean, scavenging would probably be good for a starter. Fishing and hunting wouldn't be so great for a brand new player because they take the ammo of fishing hooks and bolts. You can still do it without ammo. It'll be slower to get started, but if you really want to, you can. So you might say, okay, what skill should I choose? How do I know which one? Well, one way you could do it is you can pull up the market in the game, so the peer market. This is the beta server, so the market's kind of dry. But the idea would be you can look at the market and you can see what are the different prices that the raw goods are selling for. And let's say right now when you look, you might find that the scavenging resource called salvage is worth 0.75 gold, whereas iron ore might be in higher demand, so it might be worth 1.2 gold per ore. But keep in mind that what you choose today, based on market demand today, might be different tomorrow or next week or next month. So they're all pretty well balanced. So it doesn't matter too much. And one good thing to keep in mind is there's a prestige system in the game. So if you choose a skill and you just don't like it, you don't like how it plays, on the next prestige, you can choose a different one. So that's kind of a nice thing about this game. What other choices are there? Well, you can do what we call a jote. So this game has a jack of all trades buff. So the way that the jote plays is you do all 6 gathering skills, keep them all within 3 levels of each other, and you get a bonus to your gathering amount. So in the mastery menu, this is where, sort of in the mid game, you get these scrolls of mastery and you advance in whatever of the 6 you choose, or you can choose the skill synergy, which is what we call the jote bonus. Like you might hear someone say a jote 6 means they're doing all 6. Whereas if you do a jote 5 or a jote 4, you get a lesser bonus So it's up to you. It's up to how you want to play. But most people go for Jote 6. And as it says here, you can either go skill synergy or choose the individual masteries. It doesn't let you put points in both types. So the argument people have is the Jote versus the Goat, greatest of all time. And a Goat player does a focus. So instead of doing all 6, they would just choose one and then put their mastery in that one skill and advance up and up and up with that one skill. They're both viable. They're both fun. Jote takes a little bit more effort to keep your skills balanced, and with the Jote you have to have 6 tools that you buy, whereas the Goat only has to buy 1 tool. So that's something else to keep in mind. I would say the Jote would be more of an advanced path as well. Kind of like hunting and fishing are a little more advanced, but you can still do it, and there's enough people that do it that you can ask in the help channel or in the main channel, hey, I'm trying to do Jote, what am I doing wrong? There's a lot of active players that'll help you. Some of them will meme you. Okay, so that's mastery and gathering. Now there's another choice really that's developed, which is a refining main. So a refining main would be you get the raw material either from the market or from another player who trades it to you. You refine it and you send them back the refined resource. So gold you would turn into gold bars, iron ore into iron bars, wood to planks, fish to sushi, carcass to meat. So, and you might say, well, where's the scavenging refine? Well, the scavenging refine is called the repair system. So this is really more of an advanced thing. As a new player, you wouldn't need to repair your tools because they're level 5 or below. So for now, don't worry about repair. That'll come later on when you learn more about the game. So those are kind of the main choices for what to do in the game. So now let's talk about ticks. So here in the status log, every tick you get a message that tells you what happened. And you can go here and you can filter out, okay, I don't want to see my gathering ticks, or I don't want to see my refining ticks, I just want to see the events. And so you can pick whatever you want to see there. So right now I am refining, I'm cutting planks, I've got 351 million raw, 1 billion planks, and per tick I refine that much. It tells you here. So the next tells you you'll get the next level in about 6.5 hours, and you've got 36 days of wood before you run out. This is the beta server, so I gave myself resources. So that can be helpful. And then let's talk about the fallback activity. So as a new player, you have one fallback activity, which is the 6 gathering skills. So let's say you're refining, you complete the refining task by going through all the resources, and you can no longer refine. So you fall back to whatever your fallback is. And this game has offline time, so which I'll get to a little later. But the fallback works while you're offline. Here you can see I was refining and I found a rare material. So that's I'll get to that later too. Okay, so now let's talk about the resources menu. So here it's got a list of all your different resources that you have and the categories, So here you can see the planks that I'm making, and there's a cap, a storage cap. So I'll get to the community buildings too. That's what defines the resource cap. And as you can see, gold does not have a cap because it's the currency. So that's the resources display, the skills menu. So it's got all the 6 gathering skills: crafting, refining, cooking, farming, and inscription. And as a Jote, this character is playing Jote. It tells you, what your buff is, and it tells you that, hey, this one here is only level 1, and it needs to be at least level 19. So right now, this character is playing Jote 5, because I only have 5 within 3 levels of the highest, 22. So that's the skills menu. You have a mailbox, which has all your mails, and chatting with other players would be here if you whisper to them, and you can send resources to other people for trades. So that's the mailbox. And let's talk about, let's go back to fallback. So there is an optional quality of life, QOL, which gives you some perks in the game, some things that help kind of automate things and whatever. So as a QOL player, your first fallback can be the refining activity, or you can choose to repair your gear as your fallback. So the way that it would work is, you're doing a skill, let's say cut planks. You exhaust the raw wood by cutting it all. Then you go to the first fallback. So let's, cut planks as my fallback for cut planks. Obviously you wouldn't do that. So let's say I have my first fallback, refined gold. So you go all the way through your planks, you go to the first fallback, which is refined gold, you go all the way through that, and then you go to your gathering fallback, which will be whatever you want it to be. So that's how that works. All right, here we are with part 2. Yep, it's going. Okay, great. So the ticks. So I think I already went through that actually. Cut. All right, here I am with part 2. Part 1 actually did save. Hooray. Let's go through some more stuff. So the inventory menu. So when you first start the game, you have a starter set of tools, which are level 1 common, and they have a power of 1 per tool. So as you can see here on this beta server, I have a legendary tool, level 1, which is power 3, a level 10 Tinker's Kit, power 10, and then the other ones are still starters. So well, you might say, what do the tools do? Okay, well, each tool corresponds with the gathering skill. So sword for battling, pickaxe for mining, axe for woodcutting, fishing rod for fishing, crossbow for hunting, Tinker's Kit for scavenging. So so let's say I want to do wood cutting. My skill is level 21, and as you can see here, I get 69 wood per tick because my axe is only level 1. Now, for comparison, my battling is level 22 with a power 3 sword. So let me go to battling, and I get 442 gold. So it's it makes a big difference, the power of your tool. And you can say, well, how do I look ahead and how do I plan ahead with my build? So the way to do that is the anvil menu. So with the anvil menu, you can do load equipped, and you can see, okay, let's estimate a tool for the sword for battling. And when I have level 30 and I have let's say a tool level 5 that is common, and you can leave the others for now, what will my gathering gain be? 531. So this is good to kind of think that next tool upgrade, is it worth it? Should I do it? Should I wait? This is really good for estimating that, to know if it's worth it or not. And the same thing for refining. So refining, it'll tell you how much you'll use in the raw and how much you'll get refined per tick. And a tick is 2 seconds. So this is a really good tool for planning ahead. So that's the anvil. Let's go to, I already did mastery, resources, workshop. So the workshop has the levels of all your personal buildings. So, you know, here are your refining buildings. On this server, they're all level 1. But let's say, okay, my gold forge, level 1 is what I have, 221 raw per tick consumed, and I get, let's say, 24. So, and 2 XP. So if I go to level 2, it goes up to 442, 48 that I get refined, 4 XP per tick, and it tells you the costs. So depending on how you're playing the game, you can refine your own materials in order to get what you need to upgrade your building, or you can trade it on the market. At any time, there's always refined resources, almost all the time, on the market, or there's a trade channel where you can ask. You know, if there's none on the market, you can just ask in the trade channel. Typically, refined goes for 15-ish gold per refined, whereas the raw resources are more like 1 plus or minus 1 gold per. And yeah, again, battling always gets 1 gold per gold, right? So those are your personal refining buildings, and then your crafting table. So if you want to upgrade your refining building to level 2, you can see, hey, it requires crafting table level 2. So you'll have to do that first before you can up your refining buildings. So let's do that. I've got enough resources. So let's click build, and it'll queue it up. And then boom, you can see here, upgraded crafting table to level 2. So now I can go back to my gold forge and I can build a level 2. So let's build that. That queues up, and then upgraded gold forge to level 2. And again, you can see that, hey, I have to have level 3 craft table to upgrade it again. So that's personal buildings. The storage locker. So let me go here on my left menu to the inventory. Up here, these are the items you actually have equipped. You have a stash up to 250 items, and then you have a locker where you can store some items. And what I have level 1 is up to 4. And the storage locker is good because the thief event won't steal from your locker, but he will steal from your stash. So that's why the locker is a helpful thing. Scholar study. So this game has offline time, and for those that have the QOL active, you get a double amount on that. So with what I have right now, level 1, it's up to 2 hours. So that means you can close out of the game, and it'll keep going for those 2 hours, and then after your time runs out, you'll just stop your actions. So if you have a low scholar study, you might want to keep the game open, just minimized, or whenever you log back in, it refreshes that offline time as soon as you log back in. So that's the scholar study. Mercenary post, let me come back to that, and then the tithe barn. So let me jump to the farm. So all players have a farm, which doesn't cost anything to set up, and you can grow crops here. So the crops that you can grow are apples, corn, potatoes. Let me just clear it, and then I have actually I'm going to do an auto farm, which should, there you go. So the tithe barn will automatically plant and harvest for you, but the soil warden takes 10% of everything. So it's up to you. If you're around, if you play the game very actively, you might not want to do that. That's up to you. In my case, I run the tithe barn just all the time, so that I don't have to worry about it. And down here in the HUD, it tells you how much time you have left for the tithe barn. You can click it in order to refresh it, and you'll get a message here, hey, activated for 120 minutes for potatoes. If you want to stop it, you can just stop it there, and it cancels the contract, and then if you click again here, it reactivates. So that can be helpful. So you don't, you can do all that with the farming menu closed. So that's nice. All right, so let's talk about events. So at any time, there's an event active in the game, and most of them are 60 seconds, and there's a fixed rotation. So it's not randomized, it's always a specific order that it goes through. So here's the thief event I was talking about earlier. So he will steal tools and cooked food from the stash. So at the end of the timer, somehow, vaguely, he chooses a player, and he'll steal one item from you. So that's something to watch out for, is if you have a new tool that you crafted, but you haven't equipped it yet, move it to your locker, so that way it'll be safe there. So yeah, each event tells you, like, you can hit the info and it tells you about it. And then here in the title of the game, it tells you what event is active too. So that can be helpful if you have, if you're going to some other page, you can see there which one it is. And also you can see the notifications. So in this case right now, it's telling me there's a notification for the Dungeons menu, which is this Thieves' Den raid. It's a special dungeon that you can join. I'm going to skip it for now. Okay, now community buildings. So in this game, there are this many, however many that is, community buildings. And these give benefits to all players. So let's say, for example, the Prospector's Lodge, 8% bonus to iron ore gathered for all players. So if you're a miner, that's great. If you're not a miner, you really don't care about this building. But you would care, let's say I'm a battler, right? I would care about the battler's bar level. Or if you're a Jote player, then of course you would care about all 6 of those, because they all 6 of them benefit you as a Jote. You can vote on whatever building you would like to have upgraded next, and then one thing to mention is this counting house building. So you can manually contribute to a community building, or there's this counting house. So automatically, as you're gathering with it as level 8, 4% of all resources, you get a bonus, which goes toward the most voted building, whichever one's the most voted. Every 60 seconds it gets a drip from all players. So you can contribute manually, but over time they'll just upgrade themselves. That's up to you. I don't want to go through all the buildings, but you got the idea. You can read through them in terms of how they work. Conclave. So in the guild, in the game, there's kind of like a guild thing called a conclave, and where you join with a fixed number of players. It starts out with 5 max, and you go up from there. So similarly to community buildings, there are conclave buildings, and these give a benefit to everyone in your conclave. So like here, Anima Collector level 5. Again, you can vote on it if you want to, and then you can see the benefit: 0.05% chance to find a rare find called Crystallized Anima while battling. So with that, I forget the math, but you find maybe 3 or 4 a day, something like that. Yeah. So you can read through those, and there's a guide too, which tells you all about these things. So on the topic of Conclave, there's the competitions. So all the time there is a Conclave competition going on, and it resets daily, and you can see what is the competition that day. So right now, donation drive, you get points whenever you contribute to a conclave building. So that can either be done via your conclave tithe, which I forgot to explain. It's a tax on all your gathering, or with manual contributions to your conclave buildings. Either one gets points. And then the winner, the winning conclaves for second, third, get some resources to whatever their most voted building is. And you can see the history here. So that's a neat thing. And let's see here. The market. So this is where you can buy or sell resources, and you can see it's got a history of all your transactions. I'm on the beta server, so there's none there, but it'll show you buy and sell. And then data will tell you the average price of things that have been sold on the market, and this is from buying or selling orders. So that's helpful to get a rough guide of how much things are worth. Okay, let's see. What else do I want to explain? The leaderboard. The leaderboard, obviously, you know, it works just like you would think. It's got all the different skills and a few other different categories you can look at, which can be helpful. And if you want to look at, for example, the number 1 player that's a battler, you can click on it to go to their profile. You can see, okay, what are their skills, their buildings, what tool do they have. So that can be helpful to kind of figure out, you know, what are the top players doing, what are their builds, do you like it, do you not like it, you know. And there's any number of ways to play the game. And there's a system for looking at conclaves as well. So, okay, let's see here. Exchange menu. So here in the exchange menu, you can buy things. So let's say you want the recipe to craft grilled fish, you can learn that. Apple cider is a dungeon food. I'll get to dungeons in a minute. And yeah, that's how those work. Glyphs. So there are different glyphs you can apply to your tool. which gives you a different bonus and a trade-off. So glyph of the laborer, 20% more gathering yield. So that would be 221 and then 20% of that. But the trade-off is that you never find rares. So again, it's however you want to play the game. There's a couple different glyphs that you can get. They cost Artisan's marks, which are found in the dungeon system. And then your refining buildings, there are 2 glyphs you can choose for those 2, which have their effect and trade-off as well. And it tells you, a level 15 glyph you can use on buildings up to level 15. Same thing on tools. So it has to be a level 15 glyph you could use on a level 12 tool or level 15, but not a level 16. All right, that's the glyphs. Sharpening stones, in the same way as glyphs, it has to match the level of the tool. So let's say up to 15, and the sharpening stone will increase the quality by 1. So it would go poor to common, common to uncommon, and so on. And that's the only way to obtain the legendary quality, is by sharpening. And you can sharpen a tool multiple times if you want to. The only thing to keep in mind is how much it costs to do that. So as you can see, it requires the rare resources, 10 per level. So you kind of have to use that anvil and figure out, is it worth the cost versus just get a higher level tool. So that's something you can think about. Lost shipment. So the rare find for the scavenging skill is called a lost shipment, and you can open them here, and it's got the different outcomes that you can find. And yeah, the outcome is the formula for it takes into effect what level is the storage barn community building and your own how many ticks you've played. So as you play more and more, you'll get more resources or whatever from the lost shipment so that it remains viable. Inner Circle, this is the QOL, quality of life optional system, which gives a bunch of benefits. Let's see what else. Orders. So the order system, I think it's every 12 hours. There's a new order from an NPC. It'll say that they're looking for 2 level 13 axes. Like, that's the random choice for today. So you put in a price, and the info tells you all about it, but you put in a price which is the reward you get when you turn it in. And this is a blind bidding system. So let's say if I bid 100 million. Oh, bad example. Recently I put in a limitation where you have to be able to craft the tool in order to bid for it. So that's what it's telling me. I can't do it. Can I? And it would take too long to do that. Anyway, alright, so let's assume I have a level 13 crafting table or higher. You would put in your bid, which is how much you receive when you turn in those tools. And the lowest bidder is the one that wins the contract. So you could bid the max amount, 145 million, but there's a good chance that somebody else might undercut you. You know, somebody else only would do it for 100 million or 75 million, and they would be the one that wins because they had the lowest bid. And what happens if you win a contract but you don't turn it in? I think it's like 24 hours that you have to turn in. If you don't turn it in time, you lose 1 level of your crafting skill. just so that there's a negative. So that's the order system. It can be a good way, if you're a higher level crafter, it can be a good way to make some gold. There's this oracle feature, so you can spend 5 4-leaf clovers in order to maybe see what the lowest bid is. It's like a 50% chance that you might see the lowest bid, or you might see a random number. And you don't know, is it real or fake? So that's something, that you might think about, depending on what the value is of the contract. Let's see what else. Yeah, the hamburger menu, it's got all the different menus in the game. And then there's a Discord, which is really helpful to chat and get some updates on the game. Let's talk about the dungeons. So there's a dungeon system in the game, and there's different levels to the dungeons, which of course they become more difficult. As the dungeon leader, you can choose a tax rate. So if you're hosting dungeons for a couple hours in a row, you might want to charge some tax. But if it's a pub group, some people you don't know, maybe don't charge tax. It's up to you. The leader of the dungeon gets a little bit extra based on that tax, just for hosting it. So and you choose your skill. So again, just like gathering, you choose the skill you want to do in the dungeon, which uses the same skill level and the same tool as gathering. So let's say I want to do tinker, because that's my best tool, level 10. So let's create that. And here's the dungeon. There's 25 rooms, and you can see here what your damage is each tick, and what the enemy damage is each tick. Your health, the enemy health, and how much time per room. So each room is 30 seconds. If you don't defeat it in 30 seconds, the room resets, and you gotta try again. So if you reset a bunch of times, you'll know that probably you need to lower your dungeon level, because it's too difficult for you where you are in the game. So with each room that you complete, you get Artisan's marks. Because this is level 1, you don't get a whole lot per room. But it's a trade-off of, you could maybe complete 5 level 1s in the same time as 1 level 5. So you can math that out if you want to. Dungeons have up to 6 players, and each gathering skill has an ability. So let me close out of here. So here it tells you, so like I chose Tinker, which today's buff is damage resist, whereas Fishers have crit and execute and so on. So that changes each day to kind of keep it fresh and different. So that's the dungeons. If you want to, you can do a crossword puzzle, and you can get 1 hour of auto ready. So at the end of a dungeon, your party stays together, and everyone has to say, I'm ready for the next one, I'm ready, I'm ready. If you do a crossword puzzle, it'll automatically do a ready for you for 1 hour. So that way you can do a little bit of AFK while the dungeon leader keeps the dungeon going. And again, they get that little bit of tax for it if they want to charge that. So that's the dungeons. Let's see what else might be helpful. Crafting, there's a guide, which is pretty good, that goes through a lot of the game. Rev History, that has all the different releases for the game. And the rules, obviously, to talk about the rules. That's a good one to read through. Stats. So this kind of keeps some metrics on whatever you're doing. Gain per tick, gain per hour, and so on. And you can reset that, or keep an eye on it, whatever you want to do. That's the stats. Feedback. So Discord is always the best to post, like, hey, here's an issue I have, or a bug, or hey, I got a new idea for something. Discord is always the best, but some people don't like Discord, or they can't get on it, so this can be a helpful way to share some feedback on the game. It does ping to Discord, so so we all see it. The slag system. So in the game, there's a way to prestige. So you can restart the game, and you get what's called slag points for that. And there's an XP requirement, which right now where I am is 10 million, and I've earned 25 million, so I get a multiplier on the number of slag points that I will get. And it tells you what does get reset and what doesn't get reset whenever you do a slag. And then once you have the slag points, you can spend them on these three different things to get more power in the next, for the next one. So that's the slag system, and then the archival reset is kind of a prestige level 2. So this is resetting everything, plus it also resets the slag system. And you get tomes for that, and it tells you how many you get based on how many resets you've done. And the tomes are used here to spend on XP buffs. So that's the slag system and the archival reset. I think that's pretty good in terms of a short-ish starter guide. Yeah, give it a try. If you have questions, ask in game or jump on the Discord and ask away. I hope you like the game. Thank you.